Good evening, book lovers. Welcome to another episode of Cath-Lit Live. I am your host, Amy Cattapan. You can find me everywhere on social media under my pen name, AJ Cattapan. Well, I'm coming to you live on this Monday night, August, what is today? The 16th. A bit of a rough day around the world. Of course, we are keeping in our prayers everyone in Haiti, where there was the earthquake this past weekend, and everyone in Afghanistan and the turmoil that is going on there. And it seems like every day I'm hearing about somebody new who has been diagnosed with COVID and has been put on a ventilator. So before we start tonight's interview, I'm just going to ask you to please pray with me that the Lord watches over us. Our world is going through some challenging times. And I just ask the Lord to bless all of you, all of the wonderful viewers here for Cath-Lit Live, and may our guardian angels protect us. Well, today on Cath-Lit Live, our show as usual is sponsored by the Hello Prayer app. If you haven't checked it out yet, go check out hello.app/Cath-Lit-Live to get your 30-day free premium trial of my favorite prayer app ever. I have a repeat guest today. Sister Kathleen Glavich is going to be our guest, and I'm really excited to talk with her again. If you're a fan of the show, you may remember me talking about this book with her about 7 months ago, A Love Affair with God. And today we're going to be talking about her newest book, Book of Ruth, A Tale of Great Love. So let me tell you a bit about her first. Mary Kathleen Glavich is a sister of Notre Dame from Chardon, Ohio. She is the author of more than 90 books on spirituality and religious education for children and adults. Formerly, she taught every grade from 1st to 12th, served as vocation director for the Diocese of Cleveland, and was a parish minister. She enjoys editing others' books, giving talks and retreats, playing the piano, and crocheting baby blankets. So please help me welcome back to the show, Sister Kathleen. Hello. Hi, Sister Kathleen.
Hello, Amy.
Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. It's good to see you again. Thank you for having me talk about my book.
Yes, it's so good to see you, and I can't believe how much time has passed, and how many more books you've written and edited in the time since we last spoke. But this one, your newest one, is called Book of Ruth, A Tale of Great Loves. So tell us, what is this new book about?
This book is about the book of Ruth in the Bible, but that book only has 4 pages, 2,000 words. So I expanded it into a novel, and the subtitle is A Tale of Great Loves. So it covers all the loves that are in the book of Ruth. You know, Naomi's love for her husband, Ruth's love for her first husband, especially Ruth's love for Naomi, her mother-in-law. But overriding all of that is God's love for all of them and us.
Wonderful, which seems to be a theme, since I was just showing your one of your earlier books. I was showing this before you came on, right? A love seems to be a recurring theme, I think.
It's important, God's love for us.
Yeah. So how did you come to write this one?
Well, when I was a child and a teenager, I loved Gladys Malvern's books, where she took historical figures in the Bible and wrote novels about them. One is Behold Your Queen, that's about Queen Esther. Another one was The Foreigner, about Ruth. And I also just loved Louis Duval's books on the saints. You know, he wrote novels about so many of them. Lay Siege to Heaven, about St. Catherine of Siena. The Joyful Beggar, about St. Francis of Assisi. And so I was fascinated by that kind of book. And I thought other people are probably fascinated about that kind of book too. So I set out to write a book about Ruth. And one reason I decided to do another novel, my first novel was The Fisherman's Wife, The Gospel According to St. Peter's Spouse. And after people read it, they said, oh, you have to write another novel, you know, please write another novel. So I thought, I'm going to do Ruth. I'll bring her story to life. And that's the history of how I came to write this book, this particular book.
Wonderful, wonderful. So why is this book relevant for us today? Why the Book of Ruth? How would we connect with that? I mean, I would think a little bit with the with Simon's wife. There's very much people could relate to that marriage relationship. Is it the same kind of thing here, or is there something else going on?
Oh, there's many levels of how it can be relevant. I think most important right now is we are in the midst of an immigration crisis. And in the book of Ruth, we have two immigrations, two sets of refugees. First of all, there's Naomi and her family that they have to leave Bethlehem and go to Moab because there's a famine. And then on the other hand, Ruth goes back to Moab with her mother-in-law, Naomi. And in this case, both of those countries, Israel and Moab, they're longtime foes. And so not only are these women and their families not only they're foreigners, but they're actually from an enemy country. And so in my book, I illustrate the prejudice that occurs when you have a foreigner moving into another country. And it happens in both cases, to Naomi and also to Ruth. And so that's one level of relevance for the book. Another level is so many people are suffering today, different kind of tragedies, deaths, natural disasters. And Naomi, she's like a female Job. First her husband dies, and then both of her sons die, you see, and that leaves her in straits. And then as for Ruth, she is married for 10 years and she's longing to have a baby, and she doesn't have a child. And then her husband dies, and so she is crushed. And yet she goes and accompanies Naomi back to Bethlehem. And it's just, I think it shows how the book in the Bible shows that you have faith and hope in God, and he sees you through, and he even surprises you there. Another way people can relate to the book is we're very interested in our ancestries right now, right? Tracing our family tree. My friends are tracing their family trees. And Ruth is in the family tree of Jesus. She's the great-great-grandmother of King David, and then the great-great-great-great-grandmother of Jesus Christ, the Savior. So in that regard, that's important. Also, Ruth is like a paragon, a model of paying attention to the elderly. She sacrifices her whole life to go with Naomi. Both of them are destitute widows, and they're there in Bethlehem. And she supports Naomi. She joins the poor and gleans in the wheat fields to support them. And I think she's a role model then for anybody who has elderly parents, in a nursing home or even living independently. Take care of them, show them love, support them, pay attention to them, you see. So I think those are different ways that the book can be relevant and meaningful to people today.
Yeah, wonderful. I remember going through the Father Mike Schmidt's Bible in a Year podcast and getting to the book of Ruth and just thinking it's like one of those books I always heard about, but I really didn't know the story, and I found it fascinating. I didn't realize the close relationship, the daughter-in-law and the mother-in-law in there, which is something you feel like, that should be a topic maybe talked about a bit more, since sometimes those can be challenging relationships between mother-in-laws and daughter-in-laws. And here we have a Bible story about it, right?
I know, and I think it's one of the most beloved books in the Bible, in the Old Testament at least. At that one point, Ruth says to Naomi, as she decides to follow her into this strange country, she says, wherever you go, I will go. Wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your God will be my God, your people, my people. And those are just memorable words. I think they're still used in some wedding services, toward a groom or bride, not toward a mother-in-law. But right. They're so powerful, so beautiful.
Yeah. So how do you go about writing a book like this? I think you said it was 2,000 words, right? It's like 4 pages in the Bible.
Yeah,
what sources do you use? Because that's not a lot to go on.
No, it isn't. But that very brief book is jam-packed with ideas, and the plot is very involved. And in that short amount of time, they have a lot of incidents occur, and they also provide the dialogue. So that was like my stepping stone to write the book. But then I interpolated that and added things. I used my imagination, and gave a presentation of her childhood, how it was to grow up in Moab, and expanded the book in that way. But the internet was a big help to me, because there are so many commentaries on the Bible. So for each verse in the book of Ruth, you can find dozens of commentaries that explain different things to you. And for instance, why does Ruth go at night to the threshing floor and lie down at the feet of Boaz? What's that all about? The commentaries will shed light on that. And I was always searching for things on the internet. Back then, what did they eat? what did they wear? What are some Jewish customs that I'm not familiar with? As they travel, they stay at inns. How are those inns different from, say, Hilton hotels today? So I gleaned a lot of information from the internet there. And then too, I used my own personal experiences. I think authors do this. Even in novels, they tend to borrow incidents from their own life. And one in particular, as they're traveling, Naomi and Ruth, they go to an inn, and there's a man who owns a camel, and the little girl in Ruth's caravan is able to take a ride on the camel. The camel owner says, have a ride, And after she rides, he looks at Ruth and says, now it's your turn. Well, Ruth is very hesitant. She doesn't want to ride the camel. So he says to her, you could ride side saddle. And she could just picture sliding off the camel. It gets up on its hind feet, legs first, and it's a steep slant there. So she says, no, but then to compromise, she said, can I pet his head? So she pets the camel on the head. Okay, now that's what I have Ruth doing. But when I was in the Holy Land, that was my experience. That happened to me, you see. So
you were offered a chance to ride a camel and you just stroked his head instead?
I patted it on the head. Yes. There's a picture of me in my album patting the camel on the head, you see, because I saw what happened to the person previous to me, and it was very precarious. You have to hold on for dear life when the camel gets up. So that's the kind of thing that, I wove through the book, but it's a fascinating read. And, you write a book, you think, oh, is it really good? Well, my proofreader, she commented, she said, thanks for the opportunity to read this marvelous little book. She said, I really enjoyed it very much. So that gave me confidence that it's a good book.
It's a good book. I bet it is.
I know, I enjoyed writing it. I think this is the book I enjoyed writing more than any other book so far. It was fun to write, and I hope people enjoy reading it too.
Well, biblical fiction seems to be very big these days. I know I have a friend, Stephanie Lansom, who wrote 3, and I don't know if you're familiar with the Chosen TV series, but that's
I love
biblical fiction. Yeah.
Oh, that is so powerful. See, it brings these old ancient ancestors of ours to life, and Jesus and the apostles. It's wonderful.
Well, we should write to Dallas Jenkins and say, if he ever needs help inserting Ruth into some Old Testament parts, we know the nun to set him up with.
There you go. There you go. There is a movie about Ruth. I remember seeing it when I was in high school, a story about Ruth. It's a film, a very powerful film. So good. I should have watched it before I wrote the book. It might have given me more ideas.
Well, maybe it's good to let your own imagination and the Holy Spirit inspire you as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't do it without him or her.
All right. Well, where can people find out more about you and your books? Where would you recommend they go?
I would say go to Amazon, because all the books, no matter which publisher has published them, they can be found on Amazon. And you could just look up my name and you see a list of all the books. Or for this particular book, if in the search on Amazon, you type the title, The Book of Ruth, and then my last name, Glavich, Glavich, then that will make that book appear with a list of other books, but you could tell it's mine. Oh, because my book looks like this.
There you go.
Yeah. See, she cleaned in the wheat fields, so I have wheat on the cover there, and they're symbolic too for the Eucharist. So. And let's see, my website, I have www.kathleenglavich.org. So it's my whole name, lowercase, no space, .org. And I put up a reflection every Wednesday, a different reflection on some topic. I've been doing that for, I don't know, I think I have like 500 some reflections up there now.
Wow.
A new one comes up every Wednesday. So.
All right. Fantastic, Sister Kathleen. Well, thank you so much for joining me again.
Thank you this is a service you do for authors, and we're very grateful. So thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to put her back in the waiting room on Zoom and wave goodbye to her, and I'll wrap up the show for everybody here. All right. Thank you, Sister Kathleen. All right, everyone. Thank you once again for joining me on another episode of Cath-Lit Live. Again, if you've read any of Sister Kathleen's books, show her some love. Tell her in the comments on YouTube or on Facebook or on IGTV. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do so. It helps get the message of all these great Catholic books and all these great Catholic authors out there into the world. So like, subscribe, and share. And until next time, happy reading, everybody.